I know I'm super late on this review, but I'm gonna just be straight up and real. It's been hard to make a review on this mouse because of how good it is, and the fact that everybody's already in the game for it. It's the literal best mouse on the market, period. In terms of just the factual statistics and tech specs, it's just number one. But I'm gonna give you my opinion because my opinion is definitely differing from other people's opinions, and I do use this on a very high competitive level compared to a lot of these tech reviewers who more casually game just for the comfort and feel of it. But I use this at a very high level for most FPS games, and you need an opinion like that. So hope you're all doing well. My name's Braven. Please follow, like, and subscribe. I know I'm super late on this review for a lot of people that already knew that I was going to make a review for this, but I have to have an outside opinion so you guys can have a better judgment of what you want, budget versus not budget, tech specs, you name it. Also, I have a little bit of side opinions on how to kind of probably set yourself up for a better opportunity to really see if this is it for you, or maybe there's another option out there. So kind of hard to explain what I'm trying to get at there in that instance, but we'll get into it right now. So anyways, we're gonna pull up the tech specs and everything, but anyways, here's the mouse right here, right? You got your 53 gram ultra, I always say ultra lightweight. It is a lightweight mouse. As you can see though, with the grips from pretty much heavy use, it's starting to wear a little bit. Those are replaceable though, so that's a good thing, but also it's a bad thing. That's kind of why I like the older grip style where it just sticks onto it automatically. They already pre-installed it. Those grips lasted longer to me. But I have my mice set up like this. I have my mouse set up like this on this specific mouse because I don't like the initial first wait a little bit until your hand kind of clams up a little bit with a little bit of gamer moisture and then it starts sticking. I know a lot of people like that and they're willing to wait it out for like 30 minutes or whatever to start gaming competitively, but for me, I just put my hand on it, it's ready to go. It probably adds a gram at most, maybe, so 54 or 55 grams with all the grips on it. But anyways, what can I say about this mouse? I mean, honestly, they went with the wider PTFE 100% PTFE feet. These feel really good. I personally think the ones on the hyperspeed version of this mouse glide better. They're more buttery, but these are still really good, and since they're bigger, fatter, they wear more flat, so then it feels like it's not as much of a glide, but it's still, for stock feet, one of the, if not the best, top tier fucking stock feet out there. Glides really well regardless. And again, I'm on a glass pad, so it's a different example of that, obviously, because it's different from a cloth pad. So you may have more wear on a cloth pad depending on what kind of cloth it is, or you might have less wear, but the glass pad does wear pretty substantial. There's no replacement feet for this, unfortunately, but I think online you could actually order some through Razer's website. I could be wrong on that, but I believe I remember seeing someone talk about that. So sensors in the middle, the Viper V3 Hyperspeed, it's up top higher. It's got a 35,000 DPI sensor. It's the best on the market, but it's really just an overclocked 30,000 DPI sensor, so it's nothing different from their previous, most recent mice, though. It's got the power button and DPI on the bottom. Just getting a quick overview of this mouse because, again, it's ridiculous. Type C cable charging. Everybody's already done reviews on this. You know what I mean? Optical switches. Decent side button implementation. I personally, they're all right. I'm not saying I'm a big fan of them, but they're all right. They're really, really good implementation of side buttons, but for my personal taste, I like them a little lower just to feel a quicker instance of how I use them. Like my example is the Razer V3 Pro, where the side buttons are just a little bit lower, where I'm like right where my thumb sits, I can just barely move my thumb up and I'm using them. And I use these for crouch and prone. A lot of people don't use them for that, but I use them for that. So these ones are a little higher, so when I'm in the middle of a game, I have to move up a little higher to hit that button. It's a little weirder, but it's once I'm starting to think about it, like, oh, I gotta raise my thumb up a little bit, it definitely gets up there. I'll do a sound test too with the switches, but these are optical switches, pretty well implemented, but they are kind of quieter. And then the scroll wheel is definitely better than previous scroll wheels that have been implemented, especially the Razer V3 Pro. I don't like the steps on the scroll wheel on that, but the it's still not the Viper 8 kilohertz. The Viper 8 kilohertz is probably end game of scroll wheels, in my opinion. I just felt like that was the best steps, the best tactility. It was just so good. I have it in my drawer. Obviously, it's like a collector's item at this point. But the scroll wheel is it's not bad. You know, it's definitely solid. It's just not anything like crazy to me. It's just definitely a solid scroll wheel, definitely viable. I would definitely like it be more tactile. It's a little bit softer. So anyways, real quick sound test. Nothing much more than that. I mean, zero rattle. It's fucking solid. It is a unit for sure. Again, back to the coating that I was talking about, though. The coating, it's like one of those coatings where you have to like get that gamer moisture going a little bit for like a good 30 minutes or so, and then it starts gripping quite well, and then it's fine. You don't need grips. However, like I said, my personal opinions, I want to just put my hand on the mouse ready to go, and with the grips, it's definitely that. That's why I put the grips kind of around the top of the shell and then the bottom of the shell, and that was just specifically so I could, you know, when I grip it and it goes into the back of my palm right here, going into my thumb side and my pinky side. It definitely is, you know, locked in, secured, ready to go. That's how it feels. And especially if I go into a little bit more of because I'm a palm claw hybrid, so if I go into a little bit of a palm feel of it, then that's when it's like, you know, I touch the top of those grips quite often. It's not a big deal though. Like I said, it's just I need those grips just for the instantaneous feel. That's my personal nitpick. We're gonna go into the Razer website real quick, and I'm gonna just talk about a little bit of a comparison, and then with specs wise of why it's really hard to choose this mouse right off the bat if a budget is your concern. So, and the reason I say budget is your concern because obviously we're talking about the Viper V3 Hyperspeed versus the Viper V3 Pro. Oh, better highlight. So, Viper V3 Pro, definitely the best mouse on the market though. Overall, 54 gram lightweight. I said 53, but it's 54. I think it's 54, 55. 55 is for the white. I don't know why the white coating is just a little bit heavier, but again, with the grips on it, it does pretty much go up to a gram, just about. So it's about 55 grams, both, unless you obviously don't use the grips. You know, seamless handling, maximum control. You know, you're just getting your Razer advertisement here. Trusted by the pros. That is definitely true. It is trusted by the pros. This is the #1 mouse on the market for safe shape, comfortability. As you can see, the side buttons kind of raise up. They actually spaced out the side buttons a little bit on the side of the mouse, so they have space. And then you got pronounced finger grooves, and then yeah, they brought up the side for your ring finger and pinky finger pinching on the side for the clicks when you're clicking down, which is fine. You know, flatter sidewalls. I definitely prefer more of a indented, just a slight indented sidewalls. That was just my personal opinion though, but it's still very comfortable regardless. There you go, larger mouse feet used by Zekin from Sentinels. It's got the Focus Pro 35K optical sensor Gen 2, which again, like I said, it's really just an overclocked Razer Focus Pro 30,000 DPI sensor. It's all it really is. But again, 99.8% resolution accuracy, which means glass pads, it's fucking top tier. 8,000 hertz wireless polling, which I'm sure it'll pop up here in a second. You got your rotation tool, which means you could easily just automatically adjust your DPI by combining your old mouse and your new mouse side by side, doing a little bit of a swivel, and then it registers your true DPI of that older mouse so that it matches almost like if you flawlessly switched over. However, again, it's step-by-step DPI in this. We'll talk about that in a second. Right here, sensitivity matcher. Motion sync. Motion sync is one of the most important things for a sensor. It just tells you how good of a fucking sensor it is. This is actually, I'm sure I might not say it in here, but this is the absolute lowest latency mouse on the market. Absolutely lowest latency mouse. Wireless or wired, this is the lowest latency. It's crazy. Dynamic sensitivity is what I was talking about though, where you can enable your sensitivity by increments of 1, which is a first. DPI step adjustments. Yada yada yada, asymmetric cutoff, smart tracking. You got all the good features of the Mi sensitivity that's been out for a while now. You got your internals, little overview right here. sensitivity 35,000 dpi, max speed IPS 750. A lot of people don't understand these two stats right here are very, very important for a sensor, which is going to be telling you how quickly you can flick this mouse and how accurate that sensor is catching up to that flick and being accurate. And obviously 70 Gs is no joke. It is the top tier sensor, still trademarked to this day. Razer just owns the tech space right now. It's just in everything, in the keyboards and the mice and everything. Minus maybe audio, but audio is outdated by audiophile stuff until they finally catch up to that. Smooth touch finish. Again, I was just talking about that. Now, I'll talk about this in a second, but the up to 95 hours of battery life, this is no joke. This is a real deal battery thing, and I'll show you here on Razer Synapse in a second. 8 programmable controls. Obviously, that's just the buttons that you can flip-flop. You got your hyperspeed, hyperpolling 8000 hertz technology. I'll show you that inside Synapse as well. It is very good. Experience lightning fast, ultra low latency gaming. Obviously, it's the best in the market. And then you have the optical mouse switches Gen 3. Now, I can't really say I notice any kind of difference from sound, feel, anything like that from even the first optical switches from Gen 1. And I'm very just like, I guess, not very feeling on that. But I know these switches are at least lower latency clicks, so that's why it's a good thing. But you know, they feel the same in my opinion, even if you're one of those guys that's like the feely whatever. I think the Razer V3 Pro has the Gen 2 optical switches. I could be wrong, but they feel fucking identical, to be honest. But yeah, it's a top tier mouse. I honestly didn't even pull up the low latency specs. I probably pull that up in a second, but if not, just trust me on my word. You could go look it up yourself and see. And then you have your obvious questions here. 2-year warranty. Very, very good mouse. Anyways, the Razer Viper V3 Hyperspeed. Now, this mouse is literally the same mouse. It's pretty much the same mouse. It has lesser latency, or I mean, sorry, more latency, because of the mechanical switches in it. But the sensor is the non-overclocked 30,000 dpi sensor, which is still the top tier fucking sensor on the market. You get the same type of side button implementation, except it's mechanical switches. Again, these are both mechanical versus optical. It's the same mouse, just mechanical versus optical. But the big selling point here is, you know, you could get this down to 66 grams versus 54, 55 grams, which is a 10 gram difference. It's not huge. And honestly, if you're nitpicking about that, you're out of your damn mind. As you can see right here, max speed at 750 IPS, max acceleration 70 G. It's literally the same sensor, just overclocked. And this is the 30,000 DPI this standard cut. This is the official trademarked sensor without the overclock. You got your asymmetric cutoff, smart tracking, you got your motion sync. I mean, you got literally everything, you know, top tier. And the best thing about this is way cheaper. Improved surface compatibility, tracks flawlessly on glass. There you go. Better power efficiency. But the problem is there's two things: the battery and the mechanical switches. That's literally it. That's literally it. You don't even have to charge it, except you charge your batteries on the side if you want. That makes it up to like 70 grams. But again, 70 gram mouse. We've been using that for a while now. It's still a fucking top tier weight for mice, especially if you're low sense. I can understand if you want to push a little more than 70 grams, you can get this down to 66 grams, and trust me, it's gonna be fucking great. You're gonna enjoy this mouse. So the Viper V3 Hyperspeed is still kind of my recommendation overall. I recommend this wholeheartedly, and it really, you can see this. It's all the same. It's all the same except for the Gen 2 switches. Obviously, it's all the same as this, you know, V3 Pro. However, this right here, this sensor placement. You get used to the sensor placement. This is actually way more ideal. It's way more ideal for this is from personal use too. I've used this mouse a lot. I actually ended up giving this one to my buddy, and then I ended up getting this one later on. But this sensor placement right here is huge. This sensor placement gives you your left and your right, almost like straight flat line aiming. It's nuts. And on top of that, it's good for recoil control in games with high recoil. I noticed that when I pull down more with the sensor placement there, it feels like I have more control of the recoil. This mouse made me love the Viper V3 series. But here's the catch with that. Two catches with that. One, you're gonna save money. That's a good catch though. 70 bucks. You can find it cheaper probably online elsewhere too, like Amazon or Micro Center or whatever. You're gonna be able to find a better price, I'm pretty sure of it, but it gets lower than 70 bucks, believe it or not. That's the good side. 82 grams it says is with a AA battery, so just ignore that. But again, you got your, you know, top tier fucking mouse, right? Top tier fucking mouse. But the caveat is the sensor placement is gonna not carry over to newer mice. So if you get this mouse and you get used to that sensor placement, you may have to relearn the middle sensor placement again. And that was a big selling point for me, because at that point I'm going, okay, if they're gonna drop this iteration of the sensor placement, we're going to be hurting, because when we go back into, especially if I switch to a different mouse, which again, that's another conversation we're about to have right now, then it's gonna suck. It's gonna suck trying to go through one sensor placement versus another. And I did recognize that when I did the testing with this mouse. Unless you're maining this mouse through and through, you know, buy yourself 2 of these. You could buy 2 of these for the price of 1 of these. You buy 2 of these, you got a backup, so you'll be good for a while. Just make sure you do it smart and have both mice. Also too, I forgot to mention that actually you have to buy the dongle for the 8000 hertz polling separate. Should have mentioned that. But that again, it gives us to like $85 on Razer's website. 85 bucks. You buy 2 of these, it's still 160, 170 bucks. Guess what? 160 bucks right here. 160. So it's, I don't know what to tell you. It's just smarter in theory to buy this mouse if you're just planning to main this mouse and another mouse. However, that's where the second thought process comes. We'll talk about that in a second. And I know I've said that we'll talk about that in a second a lot. Back to this though, as you can see, I've been using, and I've done my research on how much time I've been streaming and gaming. And we're going up to like at least a week. We're going up about 40 hours. We're about doing like a full-time job almost. 4 hours, 6 hours, depending on the day. Obviously it gets up to even 8 to 10 hours, which I don't like doing that, so we're cutting back a bit. But as you can see, we're doing about, from this past week, it was like about 40 hours, right? We're at 67% battery. I haven't charged this once, but I have charged it since I've used it, obviously. But I'm just saying, like, just within the last week, haven't charged. I usually turn it off and just set it up here. That's it. So that's crazy to have that battery life. The dynamic sensitivity, it's going to go through all the, you know, whatever. You can change your indicator light, show whatever you want it to. As you can see, I have it at 1000 hertz polling though on just daily use, and then when I get into game I go to 2000 hertz. I use 2000 hertz because games are still catching up to that 4000 hertz, and unless the game implements a 4000 hertz polling, I may jump up to it. But since 2000 hertz really gives you like that extra good latency, stability, and everything better than anything else, 2000 hertz is kind of the safe space right now, especially if your mouse goes up to 4000 or the 8000 hertz polling. Just go to 2000. You'll get that lower latency. It is much more responsive, and it's much more stable in pretty much 95% of games. There's only so many games that are older that really 2000 hertz even shows a little bit of instability. That's why I say don't even worry. I set to my DPI stage, by the way, to 1600 DPI. Set it and forget it. It's been just what I'm used to. I did not use the dynamic DPI sensor. I did or DPI sensitivity switch. I did not use that, but you can if you want. See, sensitivity matcher. You can calibrate it. Yada yada yada. Right. You got your low power mode, which mine hits 30% low power mode. I could change that. I think that's standard, but I just never changed it, I don't believe. And then you enter wireless sleep mode. It was 3 minutes. I put mine for 3 minutes. You do whatever you want. You know, you can put that to 15 minutes if you want. You can put it down to 1 minute. It's just however you want to use it, but you know, all personal preference. Smart tracking, I keep it at medium. I've noticed that, like, just if I'm barely just above the mouse pad and the sensor is just registering, which, you know, for some reason it's not even doing that. There you go, just barely above the fucking mouse pad and it's starting to register. That's good for me. I feel like that's just more comfortable with when I lift it off and put it back down. It feels like exactly what I want it to do. And then obviously you have your dynamic sensitivity here, like I said. You could even do rotational movements, and you know, if you ever heard of like the I forgot what they call it. It's like the raw Excel. This is what this is. I haven't messed with it, haven't needed to mess with it, but I do end up eventually planning with this mouse to kind of get into that a little bit if I do specifically start grinding a competitive game. There ain't no FPS shooters out right now, in my opinion, that are good. That's just my opinion. So I'm at this point where I just don't have any need for this at all, and I aim perfectly fine. I'm doing really good in every FPS game that I fucking touch with this mouse. So yeah, there you have it. You got all these things you can mess with. You got your, you know, dynamic sensitivity, you got your rotation, you got, you know, tracking, all this stuff, all this good stuff. Honestly, there's nothing to even really show here. It's the best mouse on the market, and there's literally no debate about that. However, like I said, I was going to talk about this at the end. I've noticed a lot of people start talking about this too. It's kind of funny. Even, you know, people that are pretty much like some good at some games, like Rocket Jump Ninja. He's good at, you know, fucking Quake, shit like that. It's always good to have a backup mouse. And I've always said this. I've said this since day one, but it's really good to have a backup mouse. And I say backup mouse not in the sense of the same mouse. You can technically have a backup mouse of the same mouse, but you're using this mouse 24/7. You're gonna have your off days. And I know it sounds weird. Trust me, I know it sounds weird. But I've noticed that I made one of the best purchase decisions of my entire streaming career. Not just keeping this and this only, but I have also, as you just saw, the Basilisk V3 Pro. Now, Braven, are you fucking batshit crazy for having a 120, almost 120 gram mouse as a backup versus 55 gram mouse? Literally like double. Yes, I am crazy. Absolutely fucking crazy. But guess what? I've had my days where I'm just like, man, I feel sporadic. I feel like I'm not fucking locking on for some reason. Something just feels off with this mouse. It's just not it. And I go and turn it off and I put this on and I'm fucking insta beaming and locking everybody. If people don't realize, I started my career with this mouse and I always loved the shape of it and I always like crave to go back to it. I've sold one of these already. All black one. I sold one already because I was completely upset that I was like, I need something better, you know, and I wasn't in my head. I wasn't thinking clearly. I was just, you know, in the moment, and I was like, I need something better. This is just too heavy. And I started buying into the hype of the heavy, and I was wrong. This mouse, I went through this Basilisk V3 Pro, the black version. I have the V3 wired in my fucking drawer here, and now I'm sticking with, which I have always liked the aesthetic of this one. Honestly, it looks so fucking good. Oh my god, it looks so good. The Basilisk V3 Pro, white version. So I have my days where I pop this in and I'm fucking owning, and I mean like just snapping, locking, flicking, fucking accurate, whatever, right? Top tier. And I don't regret it any second. I will literally go all day using one of this mouse over this mouse in competitive games. I've done it before. I've even had my moments when I'm playing like CS and Valorant, and I'd go, man, like I'm just flicking and headshotting with the Basilisk better. It's fucking crazy, especially it being heavier, you know. But there's just those days where sometimes the second mouse is just the better mouse. And believe it or not, ever since, and this is where I wanted you guys to really understand where I'm coming from here. This is why a second opinion from a reviewer like myself, that's going to give you just straight up facts and reality, that's important. That's what you need. So maybe there's these days where a heavier mouse is going to help you out. You know what I mean? And like I said, it was the best decision I've ever made, because now I can tell you for sure that there's never really an off day for me. I've never really had an off day. That's something to think about. There's never really an off day, because in the games that I play, you know, unfortunately, the worst one right now for clips is Call of Duty. There ain't no FPS shooters out. But when I am playing games like, you know, CS, Valorant, fucking Apex or whatever, and I'm just being sporadic with one mouse, I'm starting to do better with another. So there's never really an off day. I've never really, at least, I can say at least 90% sure there's never been an off day since I've been on this. And that's a huge thing. And I think that's why all these reviewers and, you know, fucking esports people are fucking all doing the same thing. They're all 100% having a backup mouse, second mouse, whether it's, you know, something similar to that, like saying, like, for the example, you go with the Viper V3, or like, hey, maybe that shape's just a little off. Maybe it's like, I don't want to lose that shape, but it's a little off. Then you got the Viper 8 kilohertz here, you know, the old school Viper shape, right? So like, you go hop onto one way and hop on the other. Now, do I recommend buying two mice if your budget's low? No. It's really not. It's at this point, enjoy your off days, you know, just say it's an off day. But if you could shovel out an extra bit of money, you know, unfortunately I spent a lot of money, but if you could shovel out an extra bit of money, especially like, because this is, I have the charging dock and everything for this mouse. I've spent the most amount you could spend on two different mice. Honestly, I did that. But if you could shovel out more money, and it's not a flex, by the way, I'm just being straight up. If you could shovel out more money, do it, because you're going to be happy, especially playing competitively. You have this switch up in mice. Also, the other thing to think about too is, which is another thought process for me, is not only do I have my competitive esports mouse, you know, through and through, when I know I'm not going to be competitively gaming and I'm just editing videos or whatever, making a video like today, I could put that mouse down and I got the perfect productivity mouse right off the bat. And it's just super comfortable. It's ergo, it's fucking looks good. I can enjoy it being on my desk, looking aesthetically pleasing. I'm sure you guys go to my TikTok, go to my YouTube, whatever, YouTube shorts, you guys are gonna see that I'll have this mouse out there and I'm fucking hitting shots. And I mean, I'm hitting shots. So like in reality, weight, especially, I guess I could give you my opinion on this too, but weight is really not that big a deal. There's pros out there using heavy mice too. I don't know about 120 heavy, but they're using pretty heavy, 100 grams, 80 grams. Up there, pros are using that weight still to this day, so you can use a heavier mouse. But my thing for you is, if you're searching for a mouse, I say get a hard pad of some sort, glass, or I mean, this is my older pad at this point. See if I can move it out of the way real quick. But you know, it's dirty, it's got hair on it. It's because this keyboard just sits on this, but this is my old Firefly. Get a hard pad. I know that was like really dirty. I gotta dust that off. Cleaning day today anyways. But you got your, you know, fucking hard pad, glass pad. Get something with a hard surface, because the fine tuning on mice and low friction, if any friction, is key to pretty much using whatever weight you want. Believe it or not, it really is. So get that. And then if you want to be exactly like me, you know, getting a Basilisk, you have two different options, and you might end up really enjoying the Basilisk at times, and then going back to the Viper for more competitive feel, like depending on your day, you know, or start off with the Basilisk and then feel like your flicking's kind of slow and your target switching is slow. Then you go, you know, I'm pulling out the Viper, the big dog, you know, go in and start owning. Yeah, there's nothing really much more to say to that, but other than the fact that, like I said, I just feel like weight is not a concern anymore. It's really not, and it's a trend. All the stuff in the end is a trend. You could get away with a 26,000 DPI sensor on a glass pad, and it won't be as accurate, but you will be doing pretty good. In that theory, you can get yourself a 26,000 DPI sensor on any other brand mouse if you want. However, I'm talking about durability, fucking safe shape, fucking tech specs and everything. #1 mouse on the market for competitive gaming, bar none. Best mouse of 2024, probably best mouse of 2025 even. It's really hard. It's going to be almost nearly impossible at this moment for the next 2 years at least to beat this mouse, and that's not even a joke. They are already so high in their tech specs that they're overclocking their sensors. Because there's nothing you could do. The sensors are already top tier. We're already at the top of the echelon. Improve your optical switches, they're already top tier as well. This is the lowest latency mouse on the market, zero debate. And then you also got, with me here, this is like the 5th or 6th lowest latency mouse on the market. And I don't know why it's even like that. It's weird, but it's the same fucking tech specs. It's just the way they're implemented, I guess. This also goes 8,000 hertz. I know we're not talking about the Basilisk anymore. Basilisk has been out for a minute. Good mouse, love it. Endgame. But yeah, I could tell you for sure that I am at my endgame. And hopefully you guys think about all this as you're shopping for your next mouse, if not this mouse, and think about that. You could always go and get like a Basilisk V3 wired as your backup to this mouse. You know, whatever comes to mind to ease your time gaming and have a good time gaming without hurting yourself, going, am I wasting my days having a bad day? Think about this review. Give it a follow, like, and subscribe, please. It truly means the world to me. I'm gonna get this uploaded, no edit on this video, just send it out there. Comment in the comment section below if you have any questions, or you want to debate something with me about any of this with this review. I'm all ears, all eyes. I appreciate it. You guys have yourselves a good day. I'm out of here. Adios.